Hello, HWE 141. It is Tuesday, October 9th, and we have just completed week 3 of the course, rolling into week 4. Just wrapped up our chapter on starting solids with infant nutrition, which is always a fun one, especially as we explore doing something that we all do daily, 3 to 4 times a day, more, maybe more, something that we hopefully enjoy, right, is eating. And so how do we teach our infant to do that successfully? And will it go well? Will it not go well? Are we doing it at the right time? Are they getting enough? Will there be allergies? So there's lots of unknowns with that, but it also can be very fun and exciting to watch infants explore food and love things and hate things and spit them out and learn to swallow. And I always enjoyed that life stage. So thank you guys for completing the case study, which looked at Janie. I have graded all those and put them, given those back to you with feedback. And then also for the discussions during week 3, mainly focusing on solids, the introduction of solids, what that looks like with timing of that. And I think there's oftentimes lots of myths that are still out there, and certainly starting solids has evolved and changed with guidance over the years. I know I've mentioned this before, I think my daughter is 12 and my son is 9. So that was a long time ago for me to have to introduce solids to my children, and things have changed even since then. And I've been teaching this class for as long as I've had them, even beforehand. So I've had to adapt information and do research and listen to current science out there with regards to best practices when it comes to introducing solids. So it's fun to have seen it evolve over time, but there still are lingering myths out there about solid readiness and when is that appropriate time to do so. So generally speaking, 6 months is kind of our key age range to look for those signs of readiness. And many of you talked about them and posted them into your discussion and to the case study assignment. But that's when baby can sit up well. That's when baby has lost the tongue thrust reflex and is not pushing things out of their mouth automatically. Baby is willing and ready to chew. Baby has that pinch or grasp reflex where they can use their hands to pick up something. And then when they're eager to participate in mealtime, so that might be you having them at the table and they're eagerly interested, but it would be a combination of all of those, not just one or two, but really that they're experiencing and showing all those readiness cues is when we really like to see baby start solids. Starting early can be detrimental to intestinal health. Things can go wrong. There can be choking. It just isn't quite ready. The body isn't for digestion. But after that 6 months of age, generally we're seeing that developmental readiness. Some common myths I still feel like are out there is that what is the magic number? And there isn't necessarily that magic number, but 6 months seems to be it. And any earlier seems to be pushing it. And any later, we could go a little bit later, but then we're hitting critical points where we're not introducing key foods that potentially could cause allergies. So that brings me to my other point, is that we always stated that we need to wait to introduce those high allergenic foods. Now we know that this is more detrimental to the baby to not introduce those solids. So this could be, wheat, and we're seeing dairy, and we're seeing nuts. So delaying the introduction shellfish to these particular higher allergenic foods are actually causing an increased risk to developing allergies in the long run. So it's recommended to actually start introducing these key foods between that 6 to 8 month age range, when we know that baby is ready developmentally, and we know that they have the skills to do that. We can start introducing one food at a time. Watch for reaction. So that recommendation is still the same, that we do it slow and calculated for a reason, so we can see what's happening there with allergies should they develop, and we know what it was because we only introduced one food. And wait, we only have to wait 2 or 3 days now. So we used to say 5 to 6 days or 3 to 5 days, but it's closer to 3 days now, where you consistently would see a reaction within those 3 days. So if you've introduced one food for 3 days, then you can move on to the next food and the next food. Because if we calculated that, we would never get through all the foods if we waited 5 to 7 days to introduce all these foods. It would take us ages to get through everything. So we definitely know that within 2 to 3 days, we're going to see a reaction if there is one developing. Another myth is that we need to start solids if you have a big baby, or you need to start solids because you have a small baby, your baby's too small. So we see all these things, which it doesn't matter the size of the baby. It really matters on their developmental readiness. Not enough iron in breast milk. We actually see that that does start to wane after 6 months of age. So the stores that baby had in utero is not adequate past that 6 months of age. But we do know that the iron in breast milk is super absorbable for babies, so they're still getting it. And at some point after that 6 months, they require an additional source of iron, but generally that's adequately found in small amounts of solid foods. So it's not like a necessity at that moment, but it does work to the benefit of the baby to introduce solids after that point. And then the biggie, I think that one always comes up, and then I'll stop my video here before it gets too lengthy, is that we need to fill the baby up with solids so they'll sleep through the night longer, more comfortably. Well, really, that isn't the case, and their needs should be being met by breast milk or formula. And if they're a frequent waker, they're a frequent waker. That just is what it is. I know my son, we're all different, right? My daughter, I should start with, she slept through the night lovely. Getting her to bed was not lovely. But when she was asleep, she slept pretty well. My son, on the other hand, he would nurse every 2 to 3 hours. And this went on until 1 year of age plus, and he was always awake. So it was just one of those things, and he wasn't small, and he wasn't big, but he was just a normal baby that's how his body worked. And so we just worked around that, and I was tired for a long time, as all moms are, I think. So just some fun things to look at when starting solids. Thank you guys all for the great discussions. I appreciate those that looked at the other topics, that looked at we had reviewing parent educational material, because there is a lot out there, especially when it comes to websites, and you have to look at certain websites with a critical eye, because there's a lot of misinformation, as we know in this day of age, out there. So it's important to know what's right and what is not, and how to seek that out. Homemade baby food. Thank you to Lyriel that posted there, and those that responded. Making your own baby food is so great, and you can make a bunch and you can freeze it. Ice cube trays. Lyriel, you mentioned doing it in old baby jars. That worked too. So that's a great time saver and money saver if you have the opportunity to do that. If not, baby food out there is fine. but just be critical when you're looking at ingredients. And then sharing food culturally, that's interesting because a lot of different cultures share food with their babies, and that's just how it is. Often moms will take a bite and give the bite to the baby, so we're sharing germs, yeah? Or perhaps food that's ultra flavorful, and then babies getting that too. So culturally, it could be done. Is it right? Maybe not. But again, those cultural instances are hard to trump, right? So just be careful with food safety and sharing, making sure that it's the appropriate size and texture. Speaking of which, we talked about pureed foods, kind of soft, mushy foods, but there's also baby-led weaning, which is a big another road you could go down as far as introducing solids too. So lots of different information out there now that certainly was not part of cultural routine 10 to 12 years ago when I had my kids. So fun to see all these new things coming out, but it's important to decipher what's right and what isn't. So staying current with research and scientific viability there is important. Okay, I will stop rattling now on this video, but I thought I'd share a video rather than type. So have a great week. Let me know if you have any questions. Week 4, crazy that we're already in week 4 of the class. So have a great week enjoying this. In particular, we're looking, at chapter 9, and where we're really exploring nutritional concerns during infancy. So that is chapter 9. So what could happen that could impact the nutrition of an infant, and how we work around that. So we will talk more about food allergies. We'll talk about other things of that nature, preterm infants, what feeding looks like for them. So delve into the material and email me if you have any questions, and I hope you guys all have a great week. All right, take care.